You don't have a mask. There's 2 signs on our door that says no mask, no service.
I'll just make sure that I remember never to set foot in your store again.
You're required to have a mask.
So
It's a religious belief, though.
it's under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that we have an exemption, religious exemption.
I quit. I quit.
These guys won't put their mask on. I'm sick of feeling like this.
A group of young men, after the outdoor dining started during the summer, and people had been on lockdown. That was like when people were it was like they were let out of their cages and they forgot their manners. And they asked one of my servers several times to take off her mask so they could see if she was cute or not. And it's insulting. It never is the time to be asking out your server, but especially during COVID is not the time.
We're calling it masculine harassment, and it is horrific. It is asking women to expose themselves to the virus and thus death for the male gaze, for the sexual pleasure of customers, and for the opportunity to earn their income. 70% of tipped workers are women. They're largely women who work in casual restaurants, IHOP, Applebee's, Olive Garden, and mom and pop diners across America. They have the highest rates of economic instability. They use food stamps at double the rate of the rest of the U.S. workforce. And they've had the highest rates of sexual harassment of any industry in the United States of America.
I am a COVID cop 100% of the time. And instead of my head on a swivel for misbehavior at the bar, it's on a swivel for masks and non-compliance because the businesses, one fine can shut down a business. I don't think people grasp that we're still making less than minimum wage, and we're putting up with and doing so much more, and there's so much more on the line, not just with our health, but with the business survival.
At emancipation, the restaurant lobby wanted the ability to hire former slaves, namely black women, and not pay them anything and have them live entirely on tips, which was a mutation of the original concept of tipping. And that became law in 1938 as part of the New Deal, when everybody got the right to the minimum wage for the first time, except for tipped restaurant workers, who were given a $0 wage as long as tips brought them to the full minimum wage. And we went from 0 in 1938 all the way up to $2.13 an hour, the current federal minimum wage for tipped workers. You're not as reliant as on the tips. You're not as vulnerable to feel like you have to do whatever the customer asks you to do because you have to get that tip. So making sure workers are paid a full minimum wage, like these 7 states already do, is the answer.
It's getting harder and harder, and we're getting less and less money, and it's becoming impossible. So if people understood how those things are balancing out to really put us in a terrible position, I think they might start tipping again.